Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords. And today, let me just move this over a little bit here. There we go. I think I just dropped my matches for some reason. Darn it. This is not working out very well. All right. Today I'm going to talk to you about certain things, but before that, a couple of programming notes. Number one, I'm looking for a publisher for my upcoming book about the Crusades and the Silk Road. So if you're an RPG publisher and you've made at least one product, really, get in touch with me. You can get in touch with me here in the comments, or you can write to me in a DM on Twitter or on Mewe or on the RPG site, and let me know if you're interested in publishing my book, and we'll see if we can get some kind of a deal going. Obviously, I'll be listening to various propositions. I'm speaking with a couple of publishers right now, and then we'll see who it turns out to be. But I'm always looking for new possibilities, alternative possibilities, and I like the idea of working with companies I haven't worked with before, diversifying, that sort of thing. It's a safe thing to do. So anyways, that's it for that message. But if you're a publisher and you're interested, get in touch. Number two, got some good news for everyone. Lion and Dragon is now a platinum bestseller on DriveThruRPG. If you haven't got it yet, you should totally check it out, see what it's all about. It has been a big success. That gives you an idea of the type of success that can potentially happen. I can never guarantee it with any of my products, but all of my products have been doing pretty well in sales. And the bigger books have all hit bestseller statuses of different kinds. Lion and Dragon is now a platinum bestseller. Invisible College is already like I think a silver bestseller on DriveThru, but of course it's split between DriveThru and Amazon. Technically, Lion and Dragon is also on Amazon, so I can't imagine what its sales are from there too. But there we are. So thank you to everyone who has purchased it. And if you haven't purchased it, be sure to check it out. And I think like the soft cover version, this is the hardcover here, but the soft cover Lion and Dragon book, I think costs like $19.50. It's super cheap, and I think this one's only 20 something. So it's not an expensive book. Invisible College, the soft cover I think is like $40, but I mean, it's a different era. And this is like considerably bigger in size, right? This is 432 pages, and this one's like, I think a little less than 200 pages, somewhere around there. So that makes a big difference in terms of print costs, but there we are. So yeah, be sure to check out Lion and Dragon if you haven't already gotten in. If you have, thank you very much. So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the Invisible College though, and what you get in it. And I'd already been going through about how you form your character, your basic character, and your group, how you make your hull. And then the next section that we see are the skills. And the skills here are basically identical to the ones in Lion and Dragon. The skill section, you basically roll a skill on a D20. It's like the D20 system version of it, right? Difficulty 10, 15, 20, maybe 25. You roll a D20, you add your skill bonus, and you add your attribute bonus, and you beat the DC, if you can. There's a variety of skills, and apart from the fact that some of them are made for more modern subjects, like vehicle, land, air, and sea, it's basically the same as in Lion and Dragon. So let's get to the part that I really wanted to talk to you about today, which was the experience and advancement. And the thing is, when you're making an OSR game for a 20th century setting, you run into some challenge. Unless your game is meant to be hyper-focused, like hyper-focused, like let's say, I don't know, you're all playing soldiers, right? Like it's a game where you're playing Marines and you're in Afghanistan or something, right? You're there, you can have a single class, which is basically Marine, right? Even there, you'd have maybe military operational specialties or something like that, right? But if you're doing almost anything else, you can't really fit the archetype of a character class into the modern world. You have to have like careers. And that's why in the earlier part, you might remember, if not, you can go back into my earlier videos on the Invisible College. I talk when you create your character in this version of the OSR rules, You roll for your background. Your background gives you certain skills, and then like your social class background, where you grew up, and then you roll for what kind of education or career you had, and you get some more skills from that. And so you start with a set of skills, and that is essentially your career, your job, because a career can't be turned into a character class, right? It's not the same thing. A character class is an archetype. And so in this game, there are archetypes, of course. The archetype is basically magicians, or kind of secret agents, you could say. So that's what you're playing here. But instead of making them fixed classes, because there's another thing, is that people tend to go around transcending their archetype much more so than people ever did in any other civilization in history. Like, in a lot of cases, you were just, your dad was a barrel maker, and so you were born a barrel maker, and you'll die a barrel maker, and God damn it, your son is going to be a barrel maker, right? And that's it. That's your entire life, right? But in our modern world, that doesn't happen, and it's not only, your dad could have been, I don't know, a construction worker, and your mom maybe was a nurse and then became a homemaker, and then you become a lawyer, right? And then your kids are going to become communications majors, and then cultural studies majors, and are going to try to fight racism through interpretive jazz, and then you're wondering where you went wrong. But anyways, the point is, or no, more accurately, maybe one of them turns out okay, right? Maybe he's a gamer, and he turns into like someone who I don't know, gets he gets work as a programmer, and then he kind of like wants to switch into reporting. And then he starts his own website where he does like, I don't know, investigative reports about corruption in games media. And, and suddenly he's a hero, so that can happen too. But the point is that you go around through various different careers in your life and different roles in your life. So the way that I did this is that you don't really have a class. And I know that seems like a radical change for the OSR rules, because it seems like one of the most fundamental things. But you do still have a structure of advancement, which is a kind of the most bare bones version of a class you could imagine, right? The XP system, same as the XP system in Lion and Dragon. You don't get XP for gold or for fighting monsters or for anything like that. You get XP for completed sessions, because unlike the traditional kind of fantasy model, that wouldn't even have worked in Lion and Dragon, where half of the characters aren't supposed to care about gold, and it's not necessarily always the best idea to go around killing everything, right? So here in this game, even less so, right? In any modern game, it doesn't make any sense to get like XP for dollars or XP for people you've murdered, right? You want to have a system where it just allows you to roleplay your character in the way that makes sense for the character, and not in the way that they think is going to get them the most XP. And so this is just, you get XP for sessions completed. You might get XP for roleplaying, for extra XP if you're the best role player of the session. And then when you advance in level, you get to pick one of 3 different advancement paths, right? So the first is the College Initiate. The second is Chaos Magician. The third is Non-Magician Training. If you are still with us at this point, I offer you some gratuitous Chungus here. Hello, John. Chungus is a little pissed at me because I had to put her, it's springtime here, so I had to give her flea medication. And I had to wrestle her to the ground and hold her down and jab her in the back. And I think she's an anti-jab kitty, but yeah, she was not pleased. Anyway, so these are the 3 basic classes, you could say, right? But at every level, you can pick which of the 3 you advance in. So you could choose to be a guy that just goes College Initiate as far as it'll take him, or Chaos Magician forever, or Non-Magician forever, right? Like, you could do any of those, especially the last 2. The first one has a limit in that there's only so many levels you can take in it, because there's only so many levels of college training you can get. Now, how do they work? The second and the third, Chaos Magician and Non-Magician, work in ways very similar to the classes in Lion and Dragon. So when you go up in level, you get, the first time you take a level in Chaos Magician, you get a couple of the magical theories, and then after that, or additionally to that, and then every level after that, you will roll twice on the advancement table, or you will pick once. And so you will gain potentially new magical techniques, or you can gain, skills or other things like that. It's the Chaos Magician is someone who is focused on magic, but is trying to teach themselves magic, and they're learning from a variety of sources, and they're not as dedicated obsessively with magic as someone who is in the college program probably. So they'll have a very haphazard type of training in magic, and this is not really the ideal for magic, because in magic, if you're well trained, you're going to be way more effective, right? But some people also feel like what you gain from the college path is too restrictive, and so they want to do their own thing, and they might want to try to get the chance of getting some of the higher level benefits earlier on in their class. Because unlike the standard training where you get stuff in order, here you can randomly get certain powers. Of course, you also need to have certain prerequisites for a lot of those powers, but there you go. The Chaos Magician also has access to some magical powers, some magical theories or magical techniques that you never get in the college path, because it's just not part of the curriculum. It comes from other traditions, either modern traditions or other traditions in history, right? And then the non-magician training is also very similar, except that it has nothing to do with magic. It's the training you'd get in the Invisible College if you were what's called a Templar, which is basically the non-magic agents, the combat agents and skill agents of the Invisible College. But you could use the same table for people who are, agents of any of the other intelligence agencies. If, let's say, you wanted your guys to be from MI13, or just, I don't know, the FBI even, you could use this table, which has obviously more focus on physical training, combat training, and skill training. It has no magic at all. Then the last category is the college training. And this is where it's a bit different from Lion and Dragon, because the college magician, every time they get a new level, they get a new rank in the college, so with a new title. And with that rank, they gain a number of abilities. As you can see, they're way more than 2, right? So there's a lot of benefit to going the college route. There's really no disadvantage to it, except if you just don't think it's cool, right? If you want your character to be a renegade chaos magician that does whatever he or she likes, or it likes, then I guess you're not going to go the college route, because this is somebody who's like working their way up the ranks of the college and is completely in with the system. But you got to remember, the Invisible College is fundamentally an institution of free thinkers and libertines, right? And people that believe absolutely in the power of individual liberty. And so they don't oblige you to study the college route, and you don't have to. And of course, there's going to be a lot of members of the college that are like, no, screw that. I'll learn magic my own way. They'll just try to do their own thing, right? But for the ones that are kind of like the serious occultism nerds, the ones that want to learn magic as intensely and as quickly as possible, well, not as quick as, because probably if you're really being accurate to the occult world, what you're going to get is there's going to be people that are desperate to learn magic as, they want to know it tomorrow, right? They want to do it as quickly as possible. And they're going to never take a training program, because a training program is slow and it takes time. It requires discipline. It requires that you develop yourself. It requires that you learn basic things before you can learn advanced things, because that's the way you end up doing it right. So the people that will take this are people that are really interested in doing it right, in becoming eventually really good magicians, right? And doing it so that they are really good magicians, not in just getting quick power or something like that. Those people will become chaos magicians, in part because, there's a couple of things about chaos magic that are techniques of magic that are really, that they work. They work really well, actually, but they're essentially cheap party tricks, right? Like they work really well, but they don't do anything really special in terms of your self-transformation or something like that. So, that's the difference, And of course you can switch, right? In the game, you can go back and forth. When you go up a level, you can do, a level, you can start at level 1 as an acolyte in the college. And then in level 2, if you want to, you can take a level as a chaos magician and try your luck. And then level 3, maybe you go and become an initiate. It's the second degree of the college. So that's also possible, right? And as you'll notice, there are some steps in which there are prerequisites. So if you can't fulfill those prerequisites. You just can't get higher than that in the college system unless you find a way to increase those prerequisites. And there are some ways. There are some ways that it could happen, but it's not easy. So that's the advancement system. And so it creates, again, just like in Lion and Dragon, just like in all my RPGs, no two characters of the same level or of the same class are going to be exactly alike, with maybe the exception that if you have two characters that have done nothing but study the degrees of the college, which only go up to only the 7th degree is a degree that you can take when you level up. The rest of them are degrees that you can only get when your attainment gets high enough. And I'll tell you guys more about attainment later. It's the attribute that represents your kind of spiritual development, right? So basically, if you get to 7th level in the college, then you're identical in terms of the skills, the magical powers you have to anybody else who's gotten to 7th level in the college, if that's all the levels that they've taken, right? But then after that, once you're 7th level in the college, you're done advancing the college, right? You have to then, from then on, advance as either a chaos magician or as a non-magician and take your chances. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to point out here, which is the one other difference in experience, which is what I call combat experience. So I have added a rule here because obviously in this game, combat bonuses are few and far between for characters that aren't explicitly combat trained, right? Like, so if your character in his background was in the army or in law enforcement, he's going to have combat training. He's going to have some skills in combat. If he was a secret agent, he's going to have some skills in combat. And if he trains as a Templar, he's eventually going to have more skills in combat, right? But for most of the magicians, they're not really going to have any special skills in combat. So I've set something up, though, because I think that in order to reflect the expertise of agents who are not combat trained but have been in combat situations, I've set up a system where you have depending on you keep track of the number of fights that you've been in. And the number of fights are fights where they've been somehow actively involved in the battle. They don't necessarily have to have killed someone, but they have to have been in what the DM considers a viable risk of being injured or killed. And they must have kind of at least attempted to either attack an opponent or risk themselves aiding their side, right? And so if you do that, then it counts as a battle. And when you have a certain number of battles and within the limit of a certain minimum level, you will gain certain bonuses to your base attack, your armor class, and the damage that you do. And as you can see, they're not very high, right? Like they top out after 15 battles or level 12 with +3 to hit, a +4 to armor class, a +3 to damage, right? So this isn't like superhero level or anything like that, right? It's just a mechanic that's there to represent actual combat experience. And of course, combat trained guys will have this too, right? If you're not combat trained, you won't have it. I mean, if you haven't been in battle, even if you're combat trained, you're not going to have this, right? So it's a small detail that you have that you can add to represent combat experience, right? So after this, we get to the equipment, but I think we're going to leave it there for today. I hope you keep enjoying these. They never get as many views. The videos where I do talk about the Invisible College never get quite as many views as my regular videos, but I can see that there's some people who like them clearly. And so I'm going to keep doing them until I've gotten through the whole book. So it could be quite a while. But in the meantime, you can pick up the Invisible College on DriveThruRPG or Amazon. You can pick up Lion and Dragon on DriveThruRPG or Amazon. Platinum bestseller, still just a silver bestseller, but of course it's brand new. Invisible College, Lion and Dragon, it's been out for, 4 years now. So, So be sure to check both of those out or any of my other products, including my RPG Pundit Presents series, my PDFs. That there's 106 of them now, and the newest one has just come out. It's called The Perils of the Sunken Sky Ship. Your characters travel across deadly sand and dangerous sea, and then into the water, joining the famous adventurer Jacques Chablou in a mission to rescue a sunken, well, not to rescue, but to enter a sunken sky ship and loot the hell out of it. And you face terrible dangers along the way, including, dangers of the desert sands, angry tribesmen, and monsters, and in the sea, all sorts of deadly marine creatures, including the dreaded Octobear. So, why not surprise your players this October with an adventure featuring octo-bears. So be sure to check that one out. And if that sounds too gonzo for your taste, check out any of the other RPG Punter Presents series. Any one of them, it's like you're buying me a coffee, but you're also getting something. You're going to find some topic there that you're going to find interesting, you're going to be able to use in your RPG campaign, especially if it's OSR or Dungeons and Dragons. I guess that's everything for today. Currently smoking Lorenzetti Poker plus Argento Natural.